And lastly, in Canada, Montreal police arrest 10 students after a protest against a decision by Quebec government to raise tuition fees. Over 1,000 students have marched through central Montreal. Police have declared the protests illegal and were out en masse to control the gathering. Quebec government has decided to index tuition to the cost of living. That will raise fees by about 3% or $70 a year. Since February last year, students have been protesting to add up pressure on the provincial government to drop tuition fees hikes. Some of the rallies have turned violent, with scores of students detained during clashes with police. Well, joining us from Calgary, Alberta, Canada is our correspondent Joshua Blakeney. Joshua, is this another chapter in the student protests that has been gripping Canada for over a year now?
Yes, it's another chapter, and one of the most ignominious chapters from the perspective of Pauline Marois, who rose to power on the back of student protests. She probably wouldn't have been able to form her minority government in the Quebec legislature had she not been backed by many students, not for her Quebec separatism necessarily, but because she had pledged to rescind the proposed tuition fee hikes that the Charest government of the time was proposing. And now, having got into power with student support, she's engaging in a volte-face and has proposed that students pay more money to attend university. And the young people in Quebec are probably among the most politically conscious Canadians, and they're not having it. They understand that this country isn't like a country like Britain or Japan, where there's lots of people and no resources. Canada has hardly any people comparatively, just 34 million people, and the second largest uranium reserves in the world, the third largest oil reserves in the world, diamonds, gold. Even in the province of Quebec, they have hydroelectric power being generated daily, and those profits go somewhere. And the students want those profits to go into education, healthcare, and social infrastructure in the province of Quebec. They have a background of being a kind of Scandinavian-style social democracy, and they want to persist with that model. And Pauline Marois is clearly somebody who is aligning herself with the capitalists in that province, who would very much like students to come out of university burdened with debt, because then when they go into corporations, they won't put their head above the parapet and ask questions and defy their bosses. So a good way of cultivating an obedient workforce is to have workers coming out of university with education, but also with tens of thousands of dollars of debt. Also, I must note an addendum to this, that in universities in North America, it's very sort of corrupt and nepotistic, how to attain scholarships and funding. And that's one way that censorship is able to manifest itself on campuses, because students learn to conduct themselves on university campuses in a certain way where they don't speak out and don't criticize the system, and that way they get scholarships to subsidize their education. So having students having a big bill at the end of each semester and having to pay tens of thousands of dollars for their education.
All right. Apologies for losing that connection. That was our correspondent Joshua Blakeney from Calgary, Alberta, Canada. That brings us to an end here on this edition of Press TV's Top 5. I hope you enjoyed the program. But to stick around, Sports International is up next. The host with the most, Amir Hossein, is here to give us a preview. Amir, what do you have for us?
Well, thank you, Brad, for that special introduction. It's the El Clasico, and Barcelona and Real Madrid had a fantastic show out, and unfortunately this time, for many Barca fans, Real was able to win